There has never been a time in our American history that we have seen the level of quality in our deer herds as we see today. Ranchers and landowners have better habitat practices, more modern harvest strategies, and the ability to use managed deer to enhance the herds. And as a hunter, that all boils down to two things: opportunity and choice. My guest today is Chase Clark, president of the Texas Deer Association, the state's only organization solely committed to the health and welfare of Texas deer. Chase, welcome to the Outdoor Patriot Show.
Thank you, John. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
You're welcome, and it's good to have you. Now, deer farming has been in North America since 1908, and it was, in fact, wildlife conservation icon President Theodore Roosevelt who spearheaded the introduction of deer farming in America. Yet, there are many people out there who don't know about it, they don't get it, they have a lot of misconceptions about it. How do you explain what deer breeders do?
Well, deer breeders are really the fabric of the rural economy, and especially in the state of Texas right now, as traditional agricultural activities have become less profitable. Landowners have really struggled to find new ways to pay for the family farm, to pay the bills. And deer breeding has become one of those activities that has been very profitable for some folks and has allowed them to sustain their family farms over the course of time. So the desire, the demand from the public for higher quality animals, higher quality deer and pastures across the country has driven these innovators to utilize new technologies, utilize animal husbandry and breeding tactics to improve the quality of animals that are used as seed stock to create better deer herds, better populations out there for hunters of this and future generations to enjoy.
Now, when it comes to whitetail, obviously Texas has a lot of deer. And my guess is that management practices today for whitetail is not so much a conservation issue as it is a management issue. But is it just the reverse for mule deer these days? I mean, we see reports of populations dropping off, and it seems to me that these management techniques would serve mule deer very well.
There's no doubt about that, John. It's pretty frustrating for some of us in the Texas Deer Association. It seems like that there's some sort of stigma against using more modern deer management techniques with mule deer in West Texas and in other states. We know it works effectively. We've seen it work on ranches in Texas and also in Mexico. Just as a case in point, visited a ranch in Mexico earlier this year and saw some unbelievable mule deer and unbelievable recruitment. In other words, fawn crops coming out of managed herds. So some of the issues that we're dealing with in the state of Texas with losses to the overall population of mule deer, I think have been exacerbated by the fact that we haven't embraced more modern management techniques to try to improve that herd as well.
What do you attribute that to?
I think really it's just kind of a desire to keep things old school, to be traditional. And I feel like that some of the folks that really have the majority of the mule deer country out in West Texas are just a little more nervous about attempting these modern management techniques on their herds. Mm-hmm. But we've seen it work, and we just need to get the word out to those folks that we can help them learn new techniques and use them effectively on their properties. And
even bigger than that, I think we can help the deer. We can help the deer population and bring it back to what it was.
Yes, sir. No doubt about it, John.
Well, now, in the last 14 to 15 years, there's a lot of people that really don't understand the deer industry. It kind of runs under the radar for a lot of things. But in the last 14 to 15 years, the industry has grown to be one of the top economic contributors in the state of Texas. And it now even outpaces, believe it or not, the rice and citrus industries in Texas. how do you account for such phenomenal growth in such a short time span?
Well, the fact of the matter is that it's successful, John. It works. It not only has improved deer herds on a large scale, but also has allowed smaller acreage landowners to really improve the quality of their deer herds on their properties. Mm-hmm. It has been extremely effective, and that has caused a mammoth amount of growth. First, it started with whispers. Hey, we ought to try this. We ought to see. This appears to be working. What's going on here? And as word has spread and articles have been written and folks such as yourself have kind of spread the word throughout the hunting and ranching community of Texas, it's become much more mainstream. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, it's probably the mainstream activity. More intensive deer management in whitetail is the mainstream management activity of today.
So it seems to me that people have finally discovered that establishing a sustainable resource such as deer or other wildlife as an investment actually benefits everyone.
No question about it. There's no question about it. And that's, once again, that's the landowner and the habitat itself, because these landowners are making significant investments in these properties and conserving wildlife habitat, whether it's on a large scale or a small scale. And then you've also got the hunters that benefit from these activities and the future generations who will have not only those wild places that are being conserved thanks to these landowners investing in them, but also the animals there, the higher quality animals for them to enjoy in the years to come.
Mm-hmm. The TDA has emerged as, I think, more in recent years than when it started. Perhaps I'm wrong, but they've emerged as one of the state's strongest advocates for hunting and private property rights. While there seems to be a growing trend these days towards the nanny state supervision in so much of our lives, the TDA has taken firm positions on ensuring hunters' right of choice and fighting so that an individual's land remains their land. What type of message do you bring to the average Joe sportsman?
Well, I think it's important for all of us to remember that private property rights are essential in the state of Texas to the success of conserving wildlife habitat. Texas has about, I believe it's 98% private lands in the state, and it absolutely depends on the knowledge and cooperation of these private landowners in order to sustain those wildlife habitats. So, to the average Joe, there's nothing wrong with a private landowner wanting to manage a piece of property in such a way that he sees fit, because he is going to manage that property not only for profitability, but also in such a way that is going to help conserve that habitat and improve it for the future. So these private landowners are not locking people out. They're doing great things for the future of wildlife in the state of Texas.
I agree, and I'd hope a lot of our sportsmen in Texas do check out the TDA to learn more about what you're doing. But there's not everybody that's on your side. There are some hunters, as well as a few organizations, who are very elitist in their opinions about hunting. They despise high fences of their use regardless of the size of the property. And I think last year we even saw some of them take a page from the tofu terrorist playbook by attempting to legislate away a hunter's freedom of choice. And I really like Ted Nugent's quote on this when he was here in Austin in support of TDA. I think he put it nicely when he said, quote, "I'm against this because it reduces my choice as a land steward, as a conservationist, and as a deer hunter." How do you respond to these critics?
Well, it's not any. It's probably not any benefit to name names or to point out organizations, but I will say that I believe that it's extremely important for landowners, regardless of the size of their acreage, whether they're a landowner of 50 acres or whether they're a landowner of 50,000 acres, that they should have the opportunity to manage sustainable wildlife resources on their property in order to help conserve that wildlife habitat and pay the bills. It's important for those landowners to have that capability. And if any organization or individual feels like because they have a a larger economy of scale, that should give them some kind of advantage in the marketplace, I disagree. I feel like we all ought to have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Now, last year, the TDA had a very successful legislative session in Austin. In your opinion, what was your biggest success?
Well, altogether, I would just say that we have dedicated ourselves and our association to creating a larger footprint for the Texas Deer Association and those private property rights that we help sustain in Austin. We feel like we made inroads into a lot of the right doors and places, and we will continue to do so in the future. So I would say that the major victory, John, is that we are doing good things for the sportsmen of Texas, for landowners of Texas, and we're going to continue to do that in the future. And we need folks to support us and to come forward and to continue to help us maintain those private property rights as we go forward.
Any legislative disappointments this last year?
No, I wouldn't say so. The only thing I would suggest is that there are compromises that were offered to those that oppose some of our legislative activities. We were disappointed that those compromises weren't more readily talked about, or at least given the right amount of consideration. And we hope that in the future we'll be able to find more common ground.
Well, they say politics is always a process, isn't it?
Yes, sir. There's no doubt about it. And there's a legislative session right around the corner once again, John.
Yes, sir. No. What do you see as the toughest challenges for TDA in the coming years?
You know, I really feel good about the Texas Deer Association right now. I'm proud to serve as the president of the organization. Our membership is growing. Our ability to get out there and make things happen is growing. And I would say that our biggest challenges are simply maintaining our forward-thinking attitude and making sure that in the future that we stay to our roots. There's been other organizations that have kind of gone away from their initial purpose. I don't think you'll see that out of the Texas Deer Association, John. We're going to stay true to what we're all about.
Chase, if people want to learn more about Texas Deer Association, where can they go?
Well, of course, the website, John's a great place to get some more information about us. That's www.texasdeerassociation.com. And our office, our main office in San Antonio, Texas, also supports any kind of call-in questions. Go visit them in San Antonio, and my door is always open as well, John. Folks can call me. I'll be glad to talk with them about issues and try to educate them as best I can.
Excellent. Well, again, that website is TexasDeerAssociation.com. If you love whitetail and mule deer, you need to check them out. They are pro-hunting, pro-sportsman, and pro-private property rights. And as a sportsman and as a Texan myself, I can tell you we need all of the above badly. Chase, thanks for being on the Outdoor Patriot Show. We appreciate it very much.
John, thank you, and we appreciate all you do for Texas and the sportsmen of our great state.
Thank you, sir.